I'd like to introduce our friends with the city of Westerville, CIO Michael Farrar, and also WeConnect manager Brian Gorenflo will be providing a breakdown of their services. So guys, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Kirby. I hope can you see my slide? Excellent. Wonderful. Well, first off, before we get into our presentation, I got to say I'm quite honored to be here speaking with you today, and also honored to be part of Ohio. As Doug and Michelle have been able to highlight some of the awesome things that they're doing with their cities. It's honored to be part of this team and this group of innovation as we continue to drive forward into the future and really trailblaze and set the bar, really putting Ohio on the map of the world. So thank you very much for this opportunity. As you said, my name is Michael Farrar. I'm the Chief Information Officer here with the City of Westerville, and I'm joined today with Brian Gorenflo, who is our WeConnect manager. And I'm going to give Brian the opportunity here to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our municipality-owned and operated data center, one of the first and only in the United States. So over to you, Brian.
All right, thank you, Mike. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be part of this presentation itself. Go ahead over to the next slide, Mike. So as Mike had mentioned, we are the nation's first and only municipally owned and operated data center and fiber network that is open to the public. There's many data centers that are publicly owned, but they typically are locked down for government use only. Back in 2010, we decided the city needed a brand new data center, and our economic development crew worked with some of our community partners, and a lot of the community partners also needed a place to place their network and computer equipment, and we decided to extend our fiber network out to over 200 lit buildings as of today. So City of Westerville has 4 utilities. WeConnect is the 4th. We've got electric, we've got water, we've got public refuse, and we have fiber. Fiber is the 21st century's infrastructure, as Doug had mentioned in the early stages itself. So we take a fiber first approach, just like we build roads as cities, we build infrastructure, we build sewers, we build everything underneath the roads that everyone drives on. Why shouldn't fiber and conduit be part of that infrastructure itself to make sure that the infrastructure is in place for anything that's coming up, for any smart cities, any fiber to the home initiatives, anything that businesses are needing that's moving. The way that we built the network, it is open access. In the city itself, we have 70 miles of fiber that runs throughout the city to close to 200 lit buildings, and over 100 of those are commercial. We also have 19 internet service providers that co-locate here at WeConnect Data Center. In the city of Westerville, there's really only 3 providers that are out there for businesses and or residents to gain access through, and having the data center here gives the access and competitive advantage for businesses to access whatever carrier they would like to have. I'll go ahead and move over to the next one, Mike. So inside the city, so this enterprise has been around since 2012. We opened the doors. Our grand opening was March of 2012, and we have been growing, evolving throughout that. We started out as a public-private partnership, and we evolved to bring management and operations back in-house about 4 years ago. So I was employee number 1 of the city, and I've brought on a staff of 2 other engineers, and we're looking to grow that staff as our product and the demand grows. So inside the data center, we provide co-location, we provide cabinet space. We're basically a hotel for businesses to put their computer equipment. We rely on outside parties for hosting services and or managed services. We do provide helping hands for our co-location clients. I had mentioned we never intended to be an internet service provider. But through our fiber network that we have connected throughout the city, we have two different offerings that are available. We have our Metro Business, which basically is a full pipe that goes from our data center out to all the connected buildings that we have in town, which gives those buildings access back to their co-location space here in the data center. Our second offering we also have is our small business fiber offering that we've spread through our uptown businesses that gives them a solid internet connection for processing credit cards or any other services that they need to provide that gives them the reliability that they deem when they need it. We also, just like Dublink, very similar in aspect to the Dublink conduit system, we also have 200 route miles of conduit that go underneath the city as well. And we host that out to those internet service providers to draw them in and give them access so that they have speed of delivery for their businesses and they can get services online as quickly as possible. We have a process where when we dig up a road or we're doing a huge infrastructure project, conduit gets put in the ground first. And that way it's in place so that the right-of-ways are kept nice and clean, and we're able to provide fiber through that access when that services are needed. We'll go on to the next thing, Mike. So as we've evolved as a city, there have been quite a few different services that have been added. You can see the roadmap itself. The slide was developed a couple of years ago. We need to add to it. But it's interesting to see the progression of when the data center was built itself and when the fiber was starting to be laid back in 2008, and we started to move that action plan. The amount of services and smart aspects that have been able to be added to our city network and or our enterprises inside the city have been able to utilize have been extremely abundant. Some of those have been the SCADA networks. So for our utilities, our water and our electric utility. Also some of the smart city applications that Mike will be talking about a little bit later on. And I will turn this over to Mike.
Thank you, Brian. So yes, the smart city technologies initiatives that the city of Westerville has, we've been quite lucky in having some successful launches of some of our smart city applications here. So I want to go ahead and talk through a couple of them. And kicking off with our transparency hub, the city really always is engaging with our residents. And the one thing we try to do is provide a vision and insight into how we run and operate the city as a whole. So we developed the Transparency Hub, which is a website that any resident can connect into, and it provides information, real-time information into how we're performing. It's kind of our scorecard. So anything from public safety to utility performance to financial performance, all public services. And it allows us to be more accountable and show that we're delivering the best level of service we possibly can. So it's quite a unique and awesome way to engage with our community. Another smart technology we've implemented is smart parking. So as part of our Tell Westerville application, we have integrated in smart parking so that when we have events like our 4th Friday in our historic Uptown or our farmers market, visitors and guests can come and be able to identify where the parking is available so they can get in and start enjoying the services that the city can provide and being part of those activities. And that's been hugely successful, and it was driven again by the requests from our residents. So we are listening and developing and deploying at their request. One of the things that obviously comes down to, we've been talking about connectivity and fiber, but also when you're out running around and you're in your you're in the city, it can get quite congested. So we wanted to make sure when we have our large events that we can provide that level of connectivity for our residents and guests to be able to have access. So we offer free public Wi-Fi powered by our WeConnect Data Center. So that's throughout our whole entire uptown area, and it provides high speeds, and we just upgraded to brand new wireless access points. So we have even more throughput and connectivity capabilities for our residents. Also, public safety is a big issue. So we've worked with a company and we partnered with Flock cameras to do license plate recognition. So we can monitor and identify when we potentially have somebody who's maybe identified as a bad person by the police coming into our area, finding ways that we can stop them or maybe defer them because it does connect into the National Police database. So, and we work with other communities, it's all connected. So when somebody drives through Westerville, it will also alert the neighboring communities to say, hey, there's somebody heading your way who has been identified as potentially, as a warrant against them. So a way of trying to help keep our community safer. One of the other smart technologies we're using is with our fiber is our SCADA network. So our SCADA network is a system that connects into not our water metering, but also our power grid, so that we can watch the network and see where we can find efficiencies, where we can deploy the service better, but also when there's an outage. And this is really impressive, especially with our electric division. We receive outages and notifications instantaneously when there's a power interruption. And it's so quick that we're actually getting the notifications, being able to work on it. And usually if we have to deploy a truck, rolling a truck before we even get a phone call from a resident. So it's one of the ways that we're delivering exemplary services through our utilities. And again, we're utilizing our fiber network to be able to make this a success. We have a traffic network, which we have all of our signals connected, and we are using automation to go ahead and help augment the traffic signals when to make sure that the flow of traffic is running smooth, especially at peak times. But another thing we're doing is we've moved over to a camera solution where we're using it to identify when cars are sitting at an intersection. So it removes the need to have to bury infrastructure into the ground for sensors. The camera technology is able to go ahead and look for the car to arrive. And so it saves time and money in us being able to deploy that across the city. The city has been ramping up in its drone program. We're now up to 5 drones here in the city. And we use those for public safety with our fire and our police divisions. But we're taking it a step further as we've just purchased a new drone that has LiDAR capabilities to it. So we are working with our fire and our police division to integrate that technology in and use it for GIS. So we're piloting a couple innovative ways to be able to get more detailed pictures and real-time images of the city, but we also use it for our public safety initiatives as well. So a lot of fun, and I think we're just scraping the top of the surface of what we can do with drones. So more to come there. And finally, Dublin mentioned their fiber to the home initiatives. The city of Westerville is also doing it currently in the middle of a pilot fiber to the home. So with having our own data center, we have the capability of being able to provide internet service not only to businesses for an economic development opportunity, as Brian talked about, but we're now piloting it, doing it to homes and residents as well. So currently we have 20 houses that are connected with 1 gig symmetrical fiber being provided by the city. And so far that pilot has been quite successful. So we're reviewing all the data, looking at how we're being able to support this. And we're working with our council on what next steps is going to look like and how we can take this further. So definitely more to come, but fiber is the future. It is the 4th utility, but it is definitely an equitable piece that all communities need to be thinking about. And it's definitely prevalent that you can see from Hilliard and Dublin here. Ohio is definitely, it's firmly in the scope of how we're delivering our services. So with that, I would like to thank you from the city of Westerville for your time, and I'll kick it back over to Kirby.
Michael, Brian, thank you so much. Very interesting stuff. I remember how impressed and shocked I was to find out that Westerville had a data center that was municipally owned. Very, very outside of the norm, but a really cool project and cool opportunity for moving forward. So thank you both so much for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.